Wanted to give you a little bit of a tour of my pond right here. I built this a little over 2 years ago. Basically dug a hole in the ground, used a John Deere 650 dozer, 4 weeks, 50 to 60 hours a week to dig this pond. And if you see over on the right side of it, it's about 8 feet deep right there. And when I was digging, it was a bone dry summer, but I started hitting a series of little springs right there. Pushed up an island. I call it Snake Island just for the shape, although I have seen snakes on it. Right where you're looking now is probably about 4 feet deep, something like that. At the far end is a large area of just shallow water, weedy water. In fact, this was a hard pan up until I was digging it. It'd be wet in the wintertime, it'd dry in the summertime. And in fact, at that far end, it was so dry and hard, there were times that I couldn't see my bulldozer blade, which is only 8 feet apart, 8 feet away, because it was so dusty. And it was about as hard as concrete to dig through that stuff too. Now I'm walking over this way. There's a shallow area you can see back in there. I pushed up a small dam because this is just a big hole in the ground. Small dam. It raises the pond depth by about 2 feet maximum. And so that water, that's about as deep as it is right out there. Mainly it just adds a lot of area to the pond, a lot of catchment area. You can't really see here. If you go down the fence, you would see an area that I dug out a little bit so that water, as it dries, that catchment area dries, any fish don't get trapped in there. They just get pushed back into the pond. But out in that area, that's probably about 5 feet deep, I'm guessing. That's the area that was so hard, so difficult to dig through because it was just really concrete hard. Now I've stocked it with catfish and bass and some little red ear sunfish and some minnows for browse just early last year. So about a year ago now. And it's funny, the first summer I didn't have any fish because I was worried. I just had dug a big expensive mud hole. So I waited to stock it. I'd see 6 and 8 snakes swimming around in the water at one time. But after stocking those fish, all I can imagine is the catfish were about 6 or 8 inches long. They must have had a field day on snakes because I saw hardly any snakes at all during the second summer. All the little bass, way too small. We've tried to catch a couple of catfish just to measure them. They're not quite 12 inches when we were catching a few late in the season. And I haven't tried on any of the other fish yet. They were just really tiny when I put them in here. So looking forward to seeing how they turn out this coming year. And like I said, at its lowest point, this pond has only dropped about 1.5 feet in the last 2 summers. In fact, it filled so quickly, I called it finished, not because I was tired of digging. I could have kept digging a lot more area. It's just that I had to go back to work on a Monday. So come Friday, Saturday that week, I dressed up the last of the edges of it, smoothed out and everything, parked the dozer. And that coming week, that first week I had to go back to work, we must have got about 6 inches of rain up here because I came back and this pond was 6 feet deep. That was just from 1 week's fill. So it's turning out to be a really nice, really effective pond. Hopefully I'll get a lot of fish in it. I've seen very little weed growth in it. Now it doesn't clear up, it stays muddy appearing, but almost essentially no weed growth. So I think this is going to work out to be a very nice pond in the coming years. So that's it. This is February 4, 2017. And when it greens up and everything, I'll do another little narration, get you into my orchard and my vineyard.